Hello everyone, and welcome to the last video of Gran Turismo 7 Custom Project Set 2, the Suzuki Cultus Pikes Peak version. For those who don't know, this car is essentially the predecessor to the massively iconic Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak version, which is quite possibly the most iconic car in the entire Gran Turismo franchise. The Cultus Pikes Peak is basically the car that Suzuki entered into the Pikes Peak hill climb before they entered the Escudo. The Cultus has actually appeared in the series once before in Gran Turismo 2, but it never returned, likely due to being completely overshadowed by the Escudo, which has appeared in every Gran Turismo game since, except for GT Sport. Now, while the Escudo is definitely the better performing car of the two, I believe the Cultus should return to the game and be there alongside the Escudo, as it was a fantastic car in its own right. Many argue it is second only to the Escudo in Gran Turismo 2 in terms of the best cars in the game, and I wanted to attempt to bring this car back into Gran Turismo 7 in some way. So this is my best attempt at it. We've used the Escudo as the base car because it's the closest thing we can get to it. So, as always, with the cars in this series, the livery for this car was made by another player in the community, and I've left a link in the description for you to add it to your own libraries and use for yourselves. If you choose to use it, then be sure to send the creator of the original livery some support from this video, and without any further delay, we can head to the tuning shop and fit the custom parts. So, now that we're in the tuning shop, this will be a good time to mention that, like I showed in the trailer, I am kind of doing two different builds for the Cultus here. One of them is a tarmac focused build and the other is a rally focused build. So there are some parts that are exclusive to one build, some are exclusive to the other build. But either way, this is quite a cheap tuning guide. So we don't actually need to fit that many parts. And also, since the Escudo in its base form is a race car, a lot of the parts that are listed here are actually parts that are already fitted by default. So this is a really cheap tuning guide, I would say, even if you choose to do both of the builds. So, in the sports section, you don't need anything. In the club sports section, you'll want the power restrictor, you will want the ballast, and for the rally build, you will want the dirt tires. If you're only doing the tarmac build, you won't need these, but you'll need them obviously for the rally build. In the semi-racing section, you'll want the fully customizable computer, and the fully customizable LSD is fitted by default. In the racing section, the racing silencer is fitted by default. The racing brake discs are fitted by default. The brake balance controller is fitted by default. The fully customizable suspension is fitted by default. You will want to buy the fully customizable racing transmission and the torque vectoring center differential. And for the tarmac build, you'll want racing hard tires. Like I say with the other builds, you can use a racing medium or soft if you want. I just go for the hard tires for the added durability, but you don't need to go for them if you would prefer medium or soft. It's entirely up to you. In the extreme section for the rally build, you'll want the hydraulic handbrake and the steering angle adapter. And then finally in the ultimate section, there is nothing fitted at all. So most parts listed here are just parts that are on the car by default, so it's a really cheap tuning guide. But now that we've gone over all those parts, we can head back to the garage and we will start tuning the car. So, just before we get into the tuning for this car, I would like to note one small difference between the real car and the build that I've made. The real car is listed as having 786 horsepower, whereas my build only has 785 horsepower. This is as close as I could get without adding a turbocharger and then massively limiting it for the sake of 1 horsepower. And then, even then, I don't actually think you could get it to 786 anyway. So for the sake of 1 horsepower, I think this will be okay. So with that minor difference out of the way, we will head into the tuning guide. First, I will do the tarmac build, and then I will cover the rally build. So, for the tires, we have the Racing Hards equipped. For the suspension, we have 140mm for body height on the front and rear. For our anti-roll bar, we have 5 front and rear. For the compression on the dampers, it is 36 front and rear, with 45 front and rear for the expansion. For our natural frequency, we have 4.0 on the front and 3.80 on the rear. For our negative camber angle, it is 2.0 on the front and 1.0 on the rear. And for our toe angle, there is none applied to either the front or the rear. For the differential, it is fully customizable, and on this build, we can edit both the front and rear values because the car is 4-wheel drive. So for our initial torque, we have 15 on the front and rear. For acceleration sensitivity, we have 40 front and rear. And for braking sensitivity, we have 20 front and rear. And the torque vectoring center differential is set to a 50-50 split. I've done this because I think with 4-wheel drive cars, putting it to the 50-50 split gives you a better overall power distribution. It makes the car feel more stable, and I like the way 4-wheel drive cars control with a 50-50 split generally. So, continuing on, for our downforce, we have 400 on the front and 600 on the rear. For the ECU, the fully customizable one is equipped, and it is set to 80%. For our ballast, we have 73 kilos, and I've put that at a minus 30 position towards the front to get us our 50-50 weight split. With the 73 kilos extra, that brings the car up to its real-world weight of 873 kilos, so slightly heavier than the Escudo, which makes sense because it came out first. The power restrictor is set to 100 here. For our transmission, I have set it to an automatic setting of 350 kilometers per hour. For our nitros, it is not fitted, but you could fit it if you wanted. For the turbocharger, none is fitted, and all the rest of the parts here are fitted by default. We can't turn those off. For the handbrake, it is on the normal one, because this is the tarmac build. And same for the steering angle kit. This is not fitted here, but it is on the rally build. So, that's the tarmac version. I will quickly jump over to the rally build, and you can see what I've done for that one. So, before we get into the tuning for this rally build, I should give a quick disclaimer here. This is my first ever rally build in this game. I've never attempted a rally build before. So, what I would recommend doing is trying this build for yourselves and then tuning it to fit your own playstyles, because I don't play rally events in this game very much, but I thought it was fitting given the car that we're doing here. So I thought it'd be fitting to try. So this is a first attempt, and I think it works quite well, but that's from me. So if you are more of a rally expert in this game, then I would recommend tuning it to fit your own preferences, because I'm not as experienced with making rally cars as I am making tarmac cars. With that being said, for the tyres on this car, we have the dirt tyres fitted, obviously. And for our body height on the suspension, we have 140mm front and rear. The anti-roll bar is set to 1 front and rear. The compression on the dampers is 20 front and rear, with 50 front and rear for the expansion. The natural frequency is 3.50 front and rear. Our negative camber angle is 1.5 on the front and 1.0 on the rear. And our toe angle is none applied on either the front or the rear. For our differential, we have 5 for initial torque on the front and rear, acceleration sensitivity is 30 front and rear, and braking sensitivity is 20 front and rear. Our torque vectoring center differential is still set to 50-50 for the same reasons. The downforce is still 400 and 600. The fully customizable computer is the same. The ballast is the same. The transmission is changed. It is set to 300 kilometers per hour automatic setting instead of 350, because top end speed isn't as important for a rally car. And then you can see the rest of the parts are the same, with the exception of the handbrake. The handbrake for drifting is applied. The torque I have left at 100%. And the steering angle adapter is fitted here. Those are the only differences. The other parts can't be adjusted. There is no turbocharger fitted either. So that's it for the rally build. So what I'm going to do now is I will head out to the track. We will discuss the tarmac build first, and then we'll discuss the rally build. You'll get to see them both on the track. So with that being said, let's head out to the tarmac first. So, starting with the tarmac version, it does feel very similar to the Escudo, which is somewhat accurate based on how both cars performed in Gran Turismo 2. So right off the bat, this is a good car. I think most can agree the Escudo is a great car on its own, even if it isn't as dominant as it used to be. Of course, this isn't a one-to-one build, as the base car here is still an Escudo that we're working with. A lot of players say that while the Escudo is the faster, more powerful car, the Cultus actually had better control in Gran Turismo 2, and that is somewhat apparent in this build, but it's not as big a difference as in Gran Turismo 2, obviously, because we are still working with an Escudo, it's not a Cultus. The two cars are obviously very different, so this car does have the same turbo lag issue as the Escudo does, and for how powerful and light it is, the top speed isn't the best. The gear ratios are set to 350 kilometers per hour, but the car does not reach that in any of my testing anyway. So it tops out around 185 miles per hour in my experience, compared to around 200 on the stock Escudo. So in all honesty, this Cultus build performs about as accurately as possible. It feels like the little brother to the Escudo. Similar performance, but overshadowed by the newer, more powerful Escudo. So, how about the dirt version? Well, I think it's pretty well established that the Escudo is one of, if not the best car for dirt tracks in Gran Turismo 7, and this Cultus build feels just as good. The lesser power can actually be a benefit for a rally event, in my experience anyway, as it can help prevent wheel spin. Most rally cars don't have a ridiculous amount of power anyway. Obviously, the Cultus here is definitely one of the more powerful ones, as 785 horsepower is by no means low. But it doesn't have as much power as the Escudo does, which I actually think makes for a better and easier handling in rally events, meaning that you may actually prefer to use this Cultus build over the stock Escudo for said rally events. So, that's all for this video, and that's it for the set as a whole. Let me know what you thought of both versions of this build. Did you prefer the tarmac version or the rally version? Also let me know what you thought of the set as a whole. Was it better than set 1? I would also like to say that I have already got a few builds lined up for a custom project set 3, if everyone is interested in that. That will come out at some point in the future. I've not got a concrete date set for it, but there will be a trailer at the time when it is ready to be released. If anyone has any cars they want to see, let me know in the comments, and I'll look into including them in a set 3 or potentially another set in the future. Thank you all for watching this video and all the other videos in the set. I hope you've enjoyed this series, and have a great day.